guys, welcome back to some more reviews, and to talk about a film, film franchise. Since Wes Craven had passed away a few weeks ago, I wanted to do these series of reviews because he was a master at what he did. You know, he produced horror movies, directed horror movies, written horror movies, and he was a master at doing that. You know, he's a great director, and I wanted to review the fantastic franchise of Scream. Talking about the original Scream today, Scream from 1996, and tomorrow I'll review Scream 2, Scream 3, which actually I think is underrated. I think it's a great sequel, and Scream 4, which is pretty decent. And I mean, the Scream franchise is a franchise I really enjoyed all movies. The second movie I think is decent. But it's a franchise. I think it's a great franchise, and pretty much the Scream franchise took the cliches and went the fun route with them. You know the cliches of the woman breaking her leg and falling, the cliches of the thunder and lightning during horror movies. The cliche of the girl who runs up the stairs, but she should be going up the front door. Just it takes those cliches and has fun with them, fun with the ideas. And it's a well-directed movie. I mean, it's one of those movies where it doesn't really have much problems. I mean, I don't even remember if it has any problems. I don't think it does. At least in my opinion, it doesn't. And my friend Arnar Horror Hunter is a big fan of the franchise. I think it's a great franchise, and is definitely it's definitely some of Wes Craven's best movies, the Scream franchise. And I was talking about Scream 1 today. Now, the original Scream it gets 7.2 on IMDb. Like I said, directed by Wes Craven, starring Drew Barrymore. You know, at the beginning of the movie, she plays a character named Casey. You also got Neve Campbell. You've gotten Skeet Ulrich, and you've got, let's see now, David Arquette, Rose McGowan, Courtney Cox in this movie. Great actors in this movie. Just great cast to it. And pretty much what it's about is you got the beginning of the movie where the classic scene, the movie opens up, what's your favorite scary movie? And then you have Drew Barrymore, she delivers a great performance in the movie. In the beginning of the movie. She's not really there for the whole movie, she's there for the beginning of the movie. She did a great job, great acting. She answered the phone, hello, says, her favorite scary movie is, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. Her favorite film is a horror film is Nightmare on Elm Street. And pretty much the voice tells her that there's this game going to be played, and it's between, if she wants her boyfriend to live, she has to follow these rules, and then she ends up breaking some of the rules, and her boyfriend gets really gory death scene where his stomach gets cut open, his guts fall out. That's the thing, this movie's got well shot scenes, well done acting, it was written well, directed well, great gore and bloody and, just great death scenes, great makeup effects, great acting, great cast, likable characters. I mean, it just pretty much has everything going for it. Great music to it. And the original Scream movie brought the neo-slasher film feel, into mainstream horror movies. Films like The Faculty, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Halloween H2O, and Final Destination, and Dracula 2000. And I know there was a film that came out before that Wes Craven made, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which I used to hate that movie in the past, but watching it again, I think it's pretty decent. It's okay. It's alright. But I know that movie came out before this movie. I believe that was 94 and this is 96. So this movie came out after it, but after this movie came out, it became a mainstream theme. The Faculty, Final Destination, pretty much, Mimic, the Mimic franchise. Pretty much horror films that were coming out had this neo-slasher film look to them. Hellraiser, Bloodline, just had neo-slasher film feels to them. And like I said, it made that feel, the way the movies are shot, mainstream in horror movies. And pretty much this killer is killing people at this high school. You have this girl who is Sydney, she's playing Sydney, and you've gotten a character named Billy. You've gotten a couple of her friends, and you've gotten one guy, which I forgot his name, Matthew Lillard from Scooby Doo the movie, which I haven't seen them in a while. I used to think they were decent, but I was a young kid when I seen those movies, the Scooby Doo live action movies, which now that I've grown up and heard about the movies, I heard they are garbage, and I haven't seen the movies for a long time. I'd say the last time I watched it, I was probably 9 or 10, or 9 or 10, yeah, somewhere around that age. I was really young when I first, the last time I watched the movies. So I don't know if watching them now would be the same, the same thought on the movie, my same, you know, um, the way I think about, the way the movie, to me, how enjoyable it is or anything like that. To me, I think if I watch it now, honestly, I'd probably be pretty be upset because it was a movie I enjoyed as a kid. And I also enjoyed Dragon Ball Evolution as a kid. And I watch Dragon Ball Evolution now, and I think it's a piece of crap, and it is one of the worst movies ever made. It's not a horror movie, my bad. It's one of the worst movies ever made. Dragon Ball Evolution. I used to watch Batman and Robin as a kid, and watching it now, Batman and Robin is a crappy film. So yeah, Scooby Doo. I know I'm probably talking about Scooby Doo, and it's a Scream review. Point is, Scooby Doo. I might have different, thoughts on it now than I did, then. So that's the point I'm trying to get to. That I might have different thoughts now. But anyways, he was in those films. He's been in all kinds of movies. He's been Without a Paddle. He's in that movie. He's been in a lot of movies, and he's one of the friends, and pretty much people start getting killed one by one. This high school, and this killer is calling people, calls Sydney, and you find that Sydney, her mom was killed. She was raped and murdered, and you find out that certain people were, you find out in the sequel that certain people were framed for the murder, and it was not who you think it was, and like I said in the sequel, they explain a little bit more, but you pretty much got this one night where they go to this party, and while they're there, there's the killer of Ghostface, which is a great look. The mask, the iconic looking, just the costume looks iconic. The knife, the lines, what's your favorite scary movie? Just iconic killer, definitely classic slasher. The Ghostface killer, the killer ghost, the killer of Ghostface, definitely classic, look of the killer. And while they're there, Ghostface arrives and starts killing people. This death scene, where a girl gets stuck inside of this, pretty much what the cat and dog goes out of, the animal, the animal door. She gets stuck in there, and the thing gets basically pulled up, and her freaking head gets crushed. People get their throats slit. I believe, let's see, David Arquette, he gets stabbed in the back, but he's fine. Courtney Cox, I think she just gets knocked out. And pretty much some people are getting killed, and you find out pretty much the other members of the party find out about the murder of the principal, and he pretty much gets stabbed, earlier in the movie. They find out that the principal's been murdered, and they pretty much go out to investigate and see what happened. Wow, there's only a few people left, and while they're there, Ghostface is running around, chasing Sydney. You got that scene where he chases her up the stairs, and she's fighting back. The Sydney character in the movie is very likable. Throughout the entire series, the Sydney character is likable. I think Neve Campbell did a great job in this movie. She did a great job in the franchise. All the films, she did a great job. Very likable character. And also, characters like, Sheriff Deputy Dewey, Gail Weathers, the news reporter, just classic characters. And then you find at the end of the movie that Sydney's boyfriend Billy is the killer, and Matthew Lillard His character is also a killer, and he helps pretty much the character of Billy kill the other people. And Sydney is held up. They're putting knives at her and stuff like that, telling her, "Surprise, Cindy." You know, that seems pretty cool. Classic scene where they got her help in the kitchen, and she's, telling them they're a-holes and stuff like that, and then she's, "You stupid people, you guys have watched way too many horror movies." He's like, "That's not true. Horror movies don't create the killers." And he says that great line, and then he starts stabbing, which it's kind of a messed up scene, but it was kind of funny because Matthew Lillard's like, "Philo Woozy here." He's like, they're pretty much make it look like they got stabbed and they got hurt, and they're trying to frame Sydney for the murders, and they're getting ready to kill Sydney's father, and they're stabbing each other. And Stewart, he's like, "Okay," because the character Billy's like, "Okay, it's your turn." He's like, "All right," stabs him, the hardest as he can, and then pretty much as they're stabbing each other, they, realize that Sydney escaped, and calls him on the phone, and then Matthew Lillard answers the phone. He's like, "My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me," and character of Billy is looking for Sydney. She pops out like a flag, stabs him with the flag. Matthew Lillard's character attacks Sydney, gets a TV pushed on his face. He's like, "Ah!" Gets a freaking TV smashed on his face. Billy's comes back to life. He gets shot. Then they're like, because there's this one guy there. He's pretty much, he's a expert on horror movies. He knows the rules. There are certain rules to survive in horror movies, and named up the rules. I know this review is all over the freaking place. I know, but it's Scream. I mean, who hasn't seen Scream? Sorry, I have a tongue twister. Who hasn't seen Scream? It's a classic. It's a great horror movie. So I apologize. The review's kind of all over the place, but it's Scream. I mean, it's a classic. It's a great movie, and pretty much like I said, the character of Stewart, pretty much like I said, gets the TV on his head. Billy gets shot, and the guy's like, "Oh no, there's always one more scare. They always come back for one more scare." And then of course Billy pops up, gets shot in the head. And then she's like, "Not in my movies." And then pretty much the end of the movie, Sydney survives, Dewey survives, try to see, Courtney Cox's character survives, Gail Weathers, she survives, and trying to think, is it Steve? Oh no, it's not Steve. It's trying to get the actor's name. I forgot his name. It was like Jesse something. Was it Jesse something? I can't remember. Try to get character's name on here. He's the guy who's pretty much the expert on horror movies. Oh, it's Jamie Kennedy. Yeah, Jamie Kennedy from Son of the Mask and Scream 2 and Scream 3. Plays Randy. His character's like, "There's always one more scream," and then of course they shoot him in the head, and Sydney goes, "Not in my movie." And then the movie ends, and just like I said, it's a great movie. I mean, I know it's all over the place in this review. I'm sorry, I apologize, but it's Scream. It's the original Scream. It's a great movie. It's directed very well by Wes Craven. It was well shot, well acted, great score to it. The main theme song, down, 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 had a great score to it. The character of Ghostface, sort of this mysterious to the shadows kind of character, doesn't talk much when you see the character, talks basically through the phones, I like that scene, the classic scene where she's in the van, Sydney's in the van, and she's trying to find out, because she's in the car, she's trying to figure out where the keys are, and then Ghostface goes, knocks on the window with the knife, closes up the keys, and unlocks the trunk, gets in the car, attacks her, she escapes, goes into the news van, escapes that because he attacks her in there as well, and then Just great scenes, like the beginning of the movie. Like I mentioned, the whole idea of the game of guessing the horror movies. She's like, he's like, who was the original killer in the original Friday the 13th? And then Drew Barrymore goes, it was Jason, it was Jason. He's like, that's the wrong answer. It was Jason's mother. And he pops up in the house, and at the beginning of the movie where, like I said, the beginning kills where Drew Barrymore's boyfriend gets pretty much his belly split open, his guts spill out everywhere, and then Drew Barrymore gets stabbed multiple times, hung up on this, like, I think it was like a swing, and hung up on a tree. And it's got great makeup effects to it, great cast, great look, the way it's shot, great direction by Wes Craven, great cast, great acting. I mean, it's got everything going for it. It's a classic. So thanks for watching my review of the original Scream, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.